Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very special review, impressions of a knife that was lent to me in one of the pass-arounds. This is a knife designed by Kevin over at Lefty EDC and Colin from Divo Knives. They actually got together to create Divo Knives, and that's Kevin and Colin. And so this is the Stout version 2. I didn't get in on the Stout version 1, but I did have a couple of pony stouts and gave those away in giveaways. As much as I loved them, I thought they were fantastic giveaways, and I have a buzz, and I will be getting a Stout version 2 if I can find one after they drop. I missed out on the pre-order, which I'm really bummed. Basically, it comes down to this. You ever look at one of those pre-orders and you think you should get in on, and you miss it, and then you suddenly get to touch the knife and you realize, man, yeah, this is going to be special, and it is. And so we'll get into the details in the review here. So the knife name is the Divo Stout version 2, all right? At the manufacturer is Divo Knives, but I believe this is outsourced by Bestech, if I'm not mistaken. I can double check that. He has a little sheet on there. And let me give you the right information, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. Let's see here. Does it say on here? It should say, I thought it was Bestech. Let's double check. Maybe it doesn't say on here. Could have sworn that's what it was. Now this is a prototype, by the way. There will be a few changes, so that'll happen. Yeah, I don't see where it says on here, but I'm pretty sure this is Bestech. If somebody knows, correct me down in the comments, right? But let's get into the meat of this review impressions. So I don't do any hard use. This is a prototype. So as with any prototype, I'm not going to be carrying it. I'm not going to be hard using, cutting any. I haven't cut anything with it. I have just handled it at my desk, which has been a joy, a real joy to handle. And the designer obviously is Kevin and Colin over at Divo Knives, and this is version 2 of their version 1. So the materials are titanium scales, or titanium handles and liners. So this is a scale. It's actually then you have this purple or pink, I don't know what you want to call it. It looks purple to me. Fat carbon scale put on top of the titanium scales or liners. I forget what you call that. But then you have a titanium milled clip, which is really a nice touch. It is reversible for lefties, so rejoice. And then the steel is Vanix Super Clean, which is amazing knife steel, really cool, which is why it's going to be a little expensive, but I think worthwhile. Now the pre-order, you definitely got a great deal on it, and if I get a chance to find one after the pre-order, I'm obviously going to be paying probably a lot more, but I'll try to see if I can find that, right? So that's the materials. It is cage ceramic ball bearings. We'll go ahead and flip that open. By the way, a Vanix Super Clean with a beautiful hollow grind. Look at that nice belt satin finish there. Got a direction that way, direction that way, direction that way. I just love that cross belt satin finishes that you see on here. That's just a nice touch. I think it gives it some texture, some beautiful aesthetics visually, so I like that. And the action is ridiculous. I don't know if Kevin put Skiff cage ceramic ball bearings in here, but if this is what it's like without Skiffs, I can only imagine what Skiffs would do. I don't know if Skiffs could change it, but if this feels like it has Skiffs in there, and I'm not taking the knife apart because it's a prototype, it's not my knife, but it really feels like Skiffs because it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The action is wonderful. So that's the material, and it does have a backspacer, titanium backspacer with a lanyard kind of pin back there, so you lanyard folks can rejoice. I like the clip, by the way. It's got some nice flexibility going in and out of the pocket, especially on this fat carbon kind of scales right here. That's really nice. Let's talk a little bit about the blade steel. So this is what I would call probably a sheep's foot, hornbill, whatever you want to call it, reverse tonto. It's not reverse tonto, but a sheep's foot. Because it's rounded here, it has a slight roundedness here. So I mean, technically it's a modified sheep's foot, I guess you could sort of say. It has sort of a little place up here where your thumb can go and if you choke up, which is really nice. And you got jimping that goes pretty far out, which is really nice. So that is the style as far as the blade. So how does the knife open? Obviously it has a thumb hole that you can use with right-handed, or you can use reverse flicking. So it flicks really well. And because this is a bolster subframe lock, so the frame lock, which has a steel bar insert over travel stop, and you wonder, well, what it's bolstered. Why would you need that? Well, this is fat carbon. And if someone, catches it or is hard enough or pushes, you don't want to crack the fat carbon and make that be the only thing stopping the over travel as far as a lock bar, right? So that makes sense to have one in there, and pretty much standard when they make those. So I think that's logical, and I think it's great because then you're not worrying about damaging your fat carbon in case somebody's overly strong. I guess Superman opens your knife. You don't want to. I mean, well, it wouldn't matter if he did, but anyways, you know what I mean. So that is, I think that's pretty cool, right? So the thumb studs works, and it works really well left-handed. Obviously, being lefty EDC, Kevin is a left-handed guy. Really, really nice. I like that. I like that a lot. So it doesn't have any other deployment means, and so I mean, I can get my finger in here. Watch this. I can do the middle finger flick. That's kind of like a little bonus. I can absolutely get the finger in there. Let me show you. Oops, let me get in there. It's a little hard with my finger. I don't know if you saw, but I cut my finger. I was working on a Chavez, softening some edges, and as I was running my finger over a corner that I was softening, I looked away and my finger kept moving right over the blade, and I cut myself pretty good there. Didn't want to get stitches. I think I'm okay. Just going to take a little while to heal. But, that happens when you start modifying knives, and, next time note to self, disassemble the knife before you work on that. That's probably the best way, right? So anyways, yeah, so no thumb studs, but you can do the middle finger reverse flick. So it's kind of a bonus, but I tell you, I have an f5.5 and I love my f5.5. It is a thumb hole only kind of deployment, and I didn't get one for the longest time, and then people kept saying you should get one, and I got one because it was on sale. I got a really good deal, and I thought, okay, I'll try it. And boy, I was wrong. It is fantastic. It's phenomenal. I've never had a knife that was thumb hole only and enjoyed it that much. And so that was my favorite thumb hole only knife. I really, really like the f5.5. Still love it. But after handling this is the king. This overtook that. It is just, it feels so natural, and it's so well done. It's thin. It's even got some hollowing out for the weight relief, and obviously with the fat carbon, that's going to be more weight relief on the titanium scales there, or handle. So it's really phenomenal. I mean, it's super light, super thin, super ergonomic, hollow grind, super slicey. I mean, and then you have a finger choil that you can fully choke up on with jimping here, and you can, if you needed to do like a precision cut like that, works really, really well. Beautiful cutaway, by the way. Nice relief here to get to the lock bar, which makes this very ergonomic and comfortable. You don't feel like you're having to dig. If you got meaty fingers like me, dig in there, try to get in there, and it sometimes gets uncomfortable after a while. I can absolutely fidget this knife all day long, and I love that. So to me, the opening and closing is phenomenal. It's executed really, really well. So that's what's going on there. It is a bolster subframe locks. I like that. That works really well. We talked about that. How does it close? We already talked about that. I believe it has skiffs. The action is beautiful, just buttery smooth. Once you get that going, it does drop, but it's almost like a control drop, right? It's like a real control drop. It's not guillotine, come down, take out your finger, but it's very controlled. And when you do drop it, what's really nice is because of that finger choil, it catches right there. You're not going to worry about that little tip of the choil right there, cutting into your nail, which some knives, it's always a consideration. You got to be careful because you can cut yourself or your knuckle. This is not that. This is just, I mean, I can look away, fidget without even looking at it all day long. I love that. Love, love, love that. So that's great. So we talked about that. Let's go ahead and do some measurements real quick. Let's weigh this guy. Oh, we're in grams. Let's get to ounces. All right, so this one weighs 3.53 ounces. That's really not bad at all, 3.53 ounces. A lot of that has to do with the titanium handle, with the fat carbon scales, and even the weight relief that goes on in there, so that's phenomenal. Let's do a little measurement on the length. Overall length, we're looking at a knife that's just over 7.5, I want to say 7 5/8 of an inch. We want to look at the handle. If you don't do the finger choil, you've got about 3.5 inches. You do the finger choil, the full extent of it, you got 4.5 inches. Plenty of room for an extra large. I mean, I have large hands, so I've got plenty of room here. Here, it fits nicely here if I wanted to choke up just on that part. So I can get my large hands on there, but here, extra large, double extra, triple extra large, no problem. That's really where you want to naturally go. This feels natural up here, okay, just so you know. So plenty of room. Let's look at the blade. So the blade itself, if you go from the tip to the base, let me just do that real quick. I'm going to try to get the exact measurement here. We're looking at, I want to say 3.25 inches. So, You have to take that into account. Some states, they will say the tip to the handle is the measurement for the blade, because theoretically this could all be sharpened into a blade, right? But if you look at just the cutting edge is just under 3 inches. So technically in some places, if they only count the edge, and you know your local knife laws, just keep that in mind, it is right under 3 inches. So that's really cool. I like that. All right, so let's look at the blade stock thickness. With that beautiful hollow grind, I mean, you know, is it a really thick, heavy-duty blade or not? So let's take a look. All right, so let's measure that. So overall, it is 125 thousandths of an inch. So that's 0.125 inches. That's pretty darn thin. And with a hollow grind. I mean, and that hollow grind is beautiful, thin, slicey. And I don't know if you can see that. We can get a little angle on there with the shadows. But it is nice, really nice. The tip comes pretty strong up here. It does thin out a little bit here. So, you know, obviously don't use any knife as a pry bar. That's not what they're intended for. Get a pry bar. I mean, there's tools out there you can use specifically for that purpose, and they're EDC friendly. So I wouldn't do that, especially with a nice, this knife. A knife this nice, oh boy, try to say that 10 times quickly, right? But this has definitely got enough of a pokey tip. So if you're opening, you know, fertilizer, mulch, or dog food, cat food, cases of water, what have you, boxes, Amazon boxes, Christmas, anniversary, birthday boxes, I mean, it's going to work great, right? It's just a really useful blade edge and blade geometry. I think that's going to be fantastic. All right, so we talked a little bit about that knife category. So it's not a budget, it's not a regular, because it's over $300. This is definitely a high-end knife. And there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, you're looking at Vanek Super Clean steel, which is very expensive, typically for steel, because of the properties that this has. Incredibly corrosion resistant. It's like LC200N. It's like up there with MagnaCut in corrosion resistant. It's got great edge retention. It's a really, really cool steel to get, right? And if you heat treat it right, it's phenomenal. It also has fat carbon scales or inlays on the handle with titanium handles, and look at its beautiful milling on the titanium part that's exposed. And you know, you've got a bolster subframe lock, which is wonderful. It's got this wonderful pink purple pivot collar washer that's really nice. All T8 screws all the way around. It's got a titanium, even that, and I'll show you. That insert, that's titanium. That's not steel. It's all titanium everywhere, which is really, really wonderful. I think that's awesome. So the materials are really justify, I think, the high-end cost of this knife. If you got it on the pre-order, it was definitely a great deal. And again, every time I say that, I regret I didn't, over and over and over and over. So if you did, you are one of the fortunate ones. And I will say, if one of my subscribers happens to have one, you bought it and you don't like it, or you need to sell it to get money for something else, or you have an extra one you want to sell, let me know. I'll buy it from you. But anyways, when they drop, you know, I think they're coming in about 4 or 5 months. I think maybe 5 months now. I think, I'm not sure. You never know. It could be delays. They could come in early. We never know, right? But beautiful, beautiful knife. So that's the purpose, EDC. Yes, absolutely EDC all day long. This is a knife that I would buy and I would carry. Now, I carry all my knives. Every knife in my collection I do carry. I will carry and I will use. Now, depending on the value and how nice it is, it might not be used as strongly, if you will. It's not going to be a hard use. And hard use to me, you know, there's hard use for a frame lock, there's hard use even for a button lock, there's hard use for a fixed blade, and hard use for an axe. I would never use a button lock, if any hard use for a frame lock, liner lock, compression lock. I would never use those equally. Button locks are always going to be a little more delicate. It's a spring. There's geometry and the physics of the plunge lock. That, you know, any kind of banging vibrations could disengage that plunge lock. So you just got to keep that in mind. I just think a button lock is fantastic for light EDC use around the house, around the office. I think it's going to be absolutely perfectly fine. But if you're out there chopping, you know, branches and cutting things down really hard and whacking with your knife, don't use a button lock. I don't recommend it. A liner lock, frame lock would probably be your better option, because you really do get to engage that lock really well. Now, the nice thing is about a bolster subframe lock is I'm still getting my finger on this frame lock portion, so I'm going to keep that engaged on the tang of the blade. By the way, the tang engagement here, we're a good 50%, which is perfect. Just really nice. No blade rocks in there, nice and solidly. I don't think I also did the detent. Here, let's listen to that. That's really nice. I think I did this on the opening, but let's listen. Really nice. No detent lash. It's in there really solidly, which makes me wonder, you know, also, you know, that's another reason why there might be skiffs in there, because skiffs, if you have any detent lash, that happens from the being in, you know, in the locked open position to the closed detent engaged position. Detent lash or pivot lash, excuse me, I'm using the wrong term. Pivot lash is when the washers and the geometry of the blade to the handle, it kind of rocks going back and forth, right? So that's that pivot lash. And if you have that, a lot of times putting skiffs in because of the physics and they're more uniform ceramic ball bearings or steel ball bearings, depending on what you use, or even washers if you get their phosphor bronze washers, they make some really thick ones that can be used in lieu of ball bearings, right? Caged ball bearings. So it will actually engage the handle to the blade more solidly all the way across so you don't have any of the pivot lash. So that's really nice. This is just really, really outstanding as far as that. So I think hard use, this is absolutely could be hard use for what you would use a liner lock. Now, is it so nice that I might have a fifth pocket knife? Yeah, this is a really nice knife. I love the design and everything on here. I might very much carry a fifth pocket knife because I really love the look and the style of this knife. But man, it's so fidget friendly. It is just so fun all day long. I could just hold it here. I mean, if this was my own knife, I'd be sitting with it in the living room, flicking it all day, getting my wife and everyone yelling at me, hey, stop, flicky, Robert. You're just doing it over and over. Because I would be doing that all day long. I do it in the office when I'm on calls and stuff, when I have this, because I'm at work out of the house. So this to me is just really a fun knife just to hold, and had a chance for a couple of days to do that with, right? So really, really, really neat. Is it a collection piece? Sure, absolutely. I mean, to me, I would consider it a collection piece because I love the beauty. This is the thing. I'm not a pink or purple fan of fat carbon, and I never thought I would be. And anytime I see it, I thought, yeah, that's not for me. Like I was real close to almost buying a Jack Wolf one time, but that's all they had, and I said, no way. After I got this, I'm like, I don't hate this. And I bet in the sun, and I've taken some little shorts in the sun. It looks beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. This works. I mean, this is a really cool knife. So definitely, I even like this color, which is kind of surprising for me. All right, so I'll just let you know that. And if you were on the fence on that, I'm telling you, unless you have a real aversion to this color, I don't hate it. I really don't. And I would, if I found this knife in this color, I would absolutely bring it into my collection with that color, right? All right, so that's the collection hard use EDC portion, you know, the purpose. Let's talk about the ergonomics and feel. Now, we've talked a lot about that. It's hard to talk about the design, the materials without talking about that. But getting an overall picture of the design, I love it. I love the design. The handle is beautiful, it's comfortable. There's no hot spots with the mill deep pocket carry clip, both here short and both high, where it feels more natural right here. Got plenty of room for a finger troll. Even if you got big meaty fingers like me, you're not going to get anywhere close to that edge for the finger troll there. Unless you really, really choke up. And there's no reason to. You can get a perfectly good grip here, even use that nice little space right here for your thumb, which is great for a push cut like that. You know, and you can really get a nice push cut coming back like this, or if you had to get down here, you can use your little pinky right there for a great push cut like that. That's going to give you some nice leverage to cut into some cardboard or plastic or leather, whatever you're cutting, right? You know, I don't know, maybe you're making saddles and this is your knife to cut your saddles with. This would be great because of that hollow grind. I mean, this would be a great tool. And Vanic's super clean, especially if you're like having to leather up and condition the leather when you're working with it, because a lot of times you have to put that leather conditioner, make it a little soft, more subtle, and that makes it more moist. And you know, if you have a knife that can rust, you don't want that, right? So this would be a great steel for that. Just a thought. It does have a little bit of a swedge, by the way. I didn't point that out. So it does allow for a little bit of navigation. So you don't have the pressure of that flat part up here pushing against your desire to turn. Right, when it's really flat there and you want to push, that flatness there is going to cause a force to turn back against, especially if you're cutting through something thick. When you have a swedge, you can kind of turn it a little bit better with the swedge, and that's what the swedge does. It allows you to turn your cuts in thicker things, like cardboard. Typically, for most of us, it's going to be cardboard or some big sheet of plastic or something, if you know, whatever. But that's the point of a swedge. So it does have it for a, you know, very purposeful, like if you're trying to cut through and typically, if you're cutting cardboard, that's about as far as you're going in, unless you got a really big, thick piece of cardboard. But usually when you're doing with that, I mean, you're not trying to navigate the cut, right? You usually do that with a thinner cardboard. So I think this is very functional in that regard. I like it. And it has a nice aesthetic too. But it's a functional aesthetic, believe it or not. It really is. So I appreciate that, and I enjoy that. It has beautiful chamfering and rounding all the way around. There's no hot spots. All this is rounded. If not chamfered, let's see here. So this is a chamfering here, but it's still rounded in the edges. This is rounded here. Not technically chamfered, but beautifully rounded so you don't have any hot spots. Here's a bunch of chamfering all the way around the clip, which is done really well. There's no hot spots here or here, so that's nice. It's beautifully rounded, looped here on the clip, so you can see that going in and out of the pocket will be great. Yeah, just really nice. And back here, one thing I always appreciate, and one of my biggest gripes with Giant Mouse, why I don't have any of their knives in my collection. Every time I got one, they have a clip, and it's always got a sharp edge in the back, and it always digs into my hand. It's always uncomfortable, and it's the reason why I don't have a ProTech Malibu. I had three ProTech Malibus. Every one of them have a sharp corners on the edge, and I would not have kept my Chavez Redemption 229 if I wasn't able to have rounded the corners on those, and that made that knife very usable. And that's the reason why I got it in plain tie, so I could do that, because if you get the blacked out or anything else, you can't do that. It exposes the titanium, it looks horrible. So to me, you know, if you're going to have different colors besides a plain tie that you could theoretically buff out, you know, you've got to make sure you execute that well, and this is done well. Really nice. This is chamfered technically right here, which gives it a semi-contoured feel. It's not technically, I mean, I guess it's sort of contoured. It's very, very slightly contoured. But that little edge, this little chamfering here, gives it a really beautiful, comfortable feel right there for, you know, like a beautifully contoured, more contoured than it really is knife. Let's put it that way. All right. And so, again, that keeps it thin, keeps beautiful ergonomics here, makes it very EDC, you know, comfortable for pants, dress pants, church, you know, a suit, whatever you want. This is just really, really nice. I like that. So, and the thumb hole, this is really done well. Beautiful for a full finger in there. You can get definitely your media finger in there. And because it goes down a little bit, you can even get your finger down like that as well. So there's multiple ways to engage that thumb hole that you have right there. Beautifully done. And it works both, you know, with the thumb here on this side as well. And so left-handed, it works really beautifully as well. I like that. Fully accessible, fully easy to work with, and fully easy to open and close. So that's really nice. Opening and closing, as you saw, beautiful. Nice detent. I wouldn't tune anything that I got from on a prototype, obviously, but would I, if this was my knife, would I tune it? No, this works. It's not front flipper, right? And it's not a top flipper. And I really do like a nice, strong kind of detent. And I mean, I don't know if Kevin would call this a strong tent. He might call this a medium detent, but to me, it's a little medium strong, you know, but for him, it'll probably be medium soft, but it's nice. It works really, really well. And it allows for a beautiful control to action, right? If you tune this a little tighter, you're not going to get the same control drop like we do right here, right? It's going to be a shake shut. If you were to lighten this a little bit, if you felt like this was too strong, it would definitely give you more of a guillotine drop. But the nice thing about the guillotine drop on this one, especially if you're using it right-handed, you're not going to get the guillotine slice, which to me is very preferable and really, I appreciate it. Nice design there. All right, so opening and closing is great. All right, so fidget factor on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, it's a thumb hole, but I can do the middle finger flick, which is kind of a bonus. It's a little hard for me to do right now with my finger on the right-hand side, but it is got a bonus. So, I mean, the thumb hole, like I gave the f5.5. I think I gave it a 4, maybe a 5. This definitely is a 5. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 5.5, maybe almost a 6. I'm not quite sure, but this is absolutely a full 5 for one single way to deploy. I think I gave the Chavez Redemption, and I think I gave my Shirogorov, and I think I gave my Herman Knives all 5s with their single deployment methods, because for those for flippers, the f5.5 was the thumb hole, because they were executed really well. I mean, is that higher than I normally would give? Yes, absolutely. But man, when you get the physics and the design and the ergonomics so right that this is just how you want to open it, and you really don't feel like it needs anything else, that's execution. That's execution to me, and I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so I'm going to give that a 5. Now, as fidgety goodness, all right, so I told you I like this better probably than that 5.5. It's dethroned it, and this is just a prototype. I can only imagine what the production version would be. So what do you think my fidgety goodness is? I mean, if you were to guess, it's 100%. Absolutely. I give it bonus. I mean, you know, since I already gave it a bonus on fidgety goodness, but I give it a bonus because I can do the middle finger flick, and that works really well. But it is just really nice, and I can get a really strong actuation with the left hand. I like that. I'm not a lefty by normally, and so for me to have, I don't have the lefty strong fingers like I do in the right hand, so I can obviously open this much better with the right hand because that's my normal tendency. I'm right dominant. So if you're left dominant, you're going to be able to do that more, you know, more resoundedly. You know, it's going to be a stronger opening for you because your hand's going to be a little more gravitated towards your left. It's going to be stronger, right? It's a dominant hand. But I almost feel like I'm close to what I can do in my right hand because the physics are just so nice. And this is a knife I could hold left-handed, even with an injury like this right now, and just fidget all day long and with left-handed. It works. And that nice, wonderful relief there and the nice chamfering on the lock bar makes this just a pleasure with the left hand. So yeah, fidgety goodness, absolutely 100%. I'd give it 5% bonus just because it's done so well. Even that left-handed, I feel like I get as much fidgety fun as I would with my right hand. I don't feel like I lost anything at all. Okay, so that's really cool. My overall thoughts is it recommended. This is a prototype, so obviously it's not a production version, and hopefully I get a hold of a production version and I'll confirm that, and we'll do probably an unboxing impression. I won't do a full review if I can get one, but I will tell you that my overall recommendations is yes, 100% recommended. I think you should get this. If you can get it, get it. If you have a way to get it secondary market, get it. If you pre-ordered it, keep a hold of it, get it, or sell it to me. But definitely get it, right? I think it's a fantastic, wonderful, exquisite, beautiful knife. I love it. I love it. It's going to be my recommended higher end knives, recommended knives, 100%. It's a knife I'm going to try to get into my collection because it's just that good. It's a knife that I regret every time I've handled this knife. It makes me go, I wish I'd done the pre-order, right? You know, it doesn't often happen. I mean, there's knives I wish I'd gotten the pre-order in, but I can quickly go past that because I'm like, yeah, it was a little too much, or it wasn't really going to be something, maybe my aesthetic, or maybe it was, something maybe I wouldn't carry as much, whatever. But this is not that. This is not that. Having had the Pony Stout, and as much as I love the Pony Stout, I should have thought more logically, because the Pony Stout was fantastic, is a fantastic knife. If you have it, keep it. Can't wait for newer versions of the Pony Stout. I think it's just really great. But this is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. Beautiful size, beautiful everything about this knife. I really like it. So absolutely recommend it. Hey, if you have any questions about this review, about this impressions, please ask me down in the comments. I do like to talk to you guys, and I do read the comments and try to interact with you guys because that's important to me. That's part of the knife channel that I really enjoy. If you have any questions about any other reviews or the channel, please let me know. I would love to respond to that as well. And any ideas for future Rob's Ramblings, I would love to hear about those as well. Hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, entertaining, or informative, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the channel really helps it out. It helps me to produce more content, do more things, basically more things for you guys. And I'm very grateful for that. And if you've done all that, maybe consider hitting the notification button down there as well, so you can be notified of future content when it's dropped. If you've done all that, maybe go over to Instagram and check me out over there at robs_nerdy_knives. That's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.